Alright, hey guys. So I decided to go ahead and do a video. I've been so tired all day. I actually fell asleep sitting on the couch.
If I had the money, I'd send it to you.
I've been tired because it's been dreary and...
Yep.
Anyway, my hair's a mess. I just don't care enough. Alright, so I decided to go ahead and get into chapter 7. It's food from the wild. An amazing bounty of food can be foraged from vacant lots and other wasted spaces. On a recent walk around a post-industrial site that suffers from some neglect, I foraged a fabulous array of edibles: wild grapes, cornelian cherries, fruits of the cornelian dogwood tree, and gummy fruits of the invasive autumn olive. In the latter case, I considered my harvesting to almost be a service to the community, as it keeps the plants from spreading further afield. In the spring, there is pokeweed, young shoots of tender Japanese knotweed, ramps, wild leeks, and fiddlehead ferns here. In the woods outside of town, I found a number of mushrooms, including chanterelles, hedgehogs, bears' heads, and shaggy manes. When you begin to understand the edibility of the plants and fungi you pass by every day, you start to see potential food sources everywhere you turn. Although we have a tendency to think of cultivated food crops as our only source of nutrition, wild foods can be a good supplement. When you consider fishing and hunting as forms of foraging, you can envision ways to supply yourself with all 4 food groups from the wild. Even the 5th group, sugary treats, can be foraged by making maple syrup or keeping honeybees. This last is really more of a form of livestock than a way to forage, but it does have wild origins. There are caveats, of course. First of all, you must know what you're eating. They can't be stressed enough. Find an expert in your area, take a class, buy a good identification guide, and do some studying before you get started. Start with something easily identifiable, like domesticated food plants that have escaped cultivation, and move on to wild plants once you've gained some experience. And always be sure to get permission from landowners before you set out. While they probably won't be opposed to your digging up dandelions from their front lawn, they might wonder just what you're up to if you don't take the time to introduce yourself first. So this goes into beekeeping. The rewards of keeping bees are many. You'll have all the honey you need for cooking and table. You'll have a supply of wonderful gifts. Your garden will be pollinated by your own bees, and you will grow better for it. And you may eventually earn money for your honey. Best of all, you will have a fascinating hobby. What you need to get started. Now, I know I've done videos on this, quite a few videos on beekeeping, and it's going to go over some of the same stuff that's in them, but it's out of this book, so hey. The location of your hives should be selected with care. Check your zoning laws to be sure that beekeeping is permitted. Choose a quiet, sunny, secluded spot. Bees follow a landing and takeoff pattern in front of the hive. Be sure that their flight path doesn't cross a sidewalk, road, or walkway. If your hive will not be near a natural source of water, provide one. Time. Beekeeping demands little time and fits in well with other weekend chores. Timing. In northern states, it is important to get your bees early in the season. They must have time to build their combs and raise new bees so that the hive population will be large at the season of the main honey flow. Arrange to have the bees delivered about when fruit trees bloom in your area. Knowledge. A little bit of knowledge will get you started, and you'll know it all. Begin by following a good manual. From there, you can explore the subject in as much Begin by following a good manual. I can't talk. From there, you can explore the subject in as much depth as you want. Bleh. Bees. Bees can be obtained in many ways. You can buy them from mail-order beekeepers. You may be able to purchase an established hive from a nearby beekeeper. That's what I'm going to check into down here. But remember, I said I was going to take a year and learn all I can on it, so... Or you might have a nearby beekeeper place a swarm of bees in a hive for you. If you buy an established hive, ask for a certificate of inspection. signed by the state apiary inspector stating that the hive is free from disease. The most popular bees to start with are Italian bees. They are industrious, and a good queen will quickly build up a strong hive. Start with a 3-pound package of bees, about 10,000 bees. Equipment. Bee equipment firms sell beginner's kits. If you buy one, make certain that you get all of the items in the equipment box before you begin setup. Step by step. Keeping bees is not complicated, but upkeep is essential, and a manual on beekeeping will be a necessary companion to teach you the tricks.
She was gone. Of course, I knew it was weird that she broke into my apartment. But honestly, she was the first
As you go along.
that had as much as
Here is a rundown of the basic steps that a novice beekeeper will need to learn. Installing bees in the hive. A few general hints. Don't rush. Work calmly. Install the bees in the evening, and remember that they aren't inclined to sting you after they are fed. Follow this basic installation procedure. Prepare the hive. Before you get your bees, the hive should be assembled, painted, and placed in its permanent location. Remove 5 frames to make an open chamber. Fill the entrance feeder with syrup. Get your package of bees. As soon as you get the bees, feed them. They'll need to subsist on sugar water until they start producing honey. Install them as soon as possible. Hold them no more than 2 or 3 days. Get yourself ready. Light the smoker, don your bee attire and net. Have a hive tool and bee brush handy. Open the shipping cage, pry off the cover of the cage with a hive tool. Remove the queen cage, replace the cover. Look at the queen cage, get a good look at the queen so you'll learn how to recognize her. Place the queen in the hive. Put the bees in the hive. Carefully replace the wire frames, working gently so that you don't pinch the bees. Replace the cover. All right. Confine the bees to the hive. Plug the hive with the entrance feeder and a handful of grass. Check several days later, replenish the syrup if necessary. After about a week, using a little smoke, remove the covers and check the queen. Okay. Beekeeping equipment. Your basic startup needs are listed below. The cost may vary depending on your regional supplier. 1, a standard 10-frame hive with bottom board, entrance block, outside cover, inside cover, frames, and foundation. 2, a 3-pound package of bees with a queen. 3, a bee veil to protect your face. 4, gloves. 5, a bee smoker. 6, a hive tool for prying apart the hives and the frames. 7, a feeder to feed the bees sugar syrup until they can support themselves with nectar. 8, a bee brush. And 9, a beginner's book on beekeeping. I'm going to make sure we have all of that stuff. And like I said, we're going to take a year before I try to get into doing that. Because I'm not going to just jump into beekeeping. That's just dumb. Getting stung. Here's the big question. Will you get stung? Yes, you almost certainly will get stung from time to time, but after a while you begin to tolerate it pretty easily. Many stings can be avoided. Here are some tips. Alright, and I am planning on, this is another reason why I'm planning on taking a year, maybe even 2. I don't know if we have that long. But I want to get the good full bee suit, but I want to get the ventilated ones. But I want the full suit so I don't have to worry about that. Work in the hive during good weather when the bees are out of the hive and gathering nectar. Wear protective gear and light-colored clothing. Bees tend to crawl into dark places, so have tight wristbands on your sleeves. Tuck the bottom of your trousers into your socks. Use a smoker when working with bees. Watch the reaction of the bees to the smoke. You will soon learn the minimum amount that can be used to subdue them. When you do get stung, remove the stinger quickly by scraping it with a hive tool or your fingernail. Don't try to pull it out with your fingers, as this will only force more venom into your body. Finally, make certain you are not allergic to bee stings. Most beekeepers eventually develop immunity to stings. If you become allergic to bee stings and the effects of the sting grow worse each time, consult an allergist. Such an allergy can become deadly. How many bees make honey and wax? The nectar that bees collect is generally 1/2 to 3/4 water. The bees evaporate most of the water by adding enzymes to it. These enzymes change the nectar into honey. The bees seal the honey into cells with a honeycomb. The beeswax begins as a liquid exuded from the abdomen of worker bees. As it hardens into tiny wax scales, the worker bees use it to build the honeycomb. Beekeepers often provide their bees with honeycomb foundations made of sheets of beeswax. They fit into hive frames and become the base of the honeycomb. These foundations enable bees to speed up comb construction and provide a pattern for straight and easy to remove comb. Okay, so maintaining the hive. The hive should be maintained about once a week throughout the spring and summer to prevent feeding problems or preparations for swarming. The best time to work on the hive is on a sunny day. Here's what it takes. Put on your protective clothing. Light the smoker, open the hive, pry it open using the smoker to subdue the bees. Check the frames, look for cell building and honey production. Keep feeding. Replenish sugar syrup until bees have a large store of honey. Check on the queen. Look for eggs and larvae to be sure the queen is producing. Add to the hive. When the hive becomes full of honey and bees, add extra stories called supers to the hive.
That's nice.
Watch for swarming. Check the bottom edges of the hive for large queen cells, which may indicate the hive intends to swarm. Evacuate the hive body en masse. There are several things you can do to reduce the chance of swarming. Provide room by adding supers before they are needed. Requeen every year, and replace honeycombs in the brood chamber with empty cells for egg laying. Harvesting the honey. The flowers have bloomed and fed the bees. The bees have painstakingly collected and stored the honey. You've placed super on super on super, and they're all filled. What's next? It's time to enjoy the fruits of your bees' labors. The honey in the frames is ready to be taken when the bees have capped it with a layer of wax.
What's wrong? Luis?
It has a finished, packaged look, and none of the honey will leak out. Removing the super. You will take the honey from the super on the top of the hive. Fit a bee escape into the inner cover and wait 24 hours so that most of the bees will have time to find their way down into the hive. Take the super off the hive. Brush off any lingering bees near the hive entrance. Take the super inside to work on it. Taking the comb honey. You're now ready to package your honey in one of its most delicious and natural states. You will need the following materials. 1, a wire cake rack, 12 by 18 inches. 2, a baking pan, 12 by 18 inches or larger. 3, containers for the honey. 4, a knife for cutting the comb. And 5, a spatula to remove the chunks to the containers. Using the knife, cut the comb from the frame and place this large chunk on the rack. Cut smaller chunks to fit your containers. Separate the chunks and let the honey drain from the sides. Then place them in the containers and seal. Another method of packing cut comb honey is to cut the chunks and place them in wide-mouth glass jars. Heat some honey to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, let it cool, and fill a jar with it. This type of pack is commonly called chunk honey. The honey in these jars tends to crystallize quickly, even though you have heated it to prevent this. Sharing with the bees. Remember that you should always leave enough honey in the hive to allow the bees to winter over comfortably. Requirements vary throughout the country, so precise amounts are difficult to compute. Consult your local cooperative extension agent. The flavors of honey. There are as many flavors of honey as there are flowers. In early summer, honey comes from wild berries and locust trees. The main honey flow in the northern part of the United States occurs during July, when a delicious light honey made from the blossoms of clover, alfalfa, and wildflowers can be harvested. As the season progresses, honey made from the later flowers, goldenrod and aster, is darker in color and has a more pronounced flavor. Honey can be as dark as molasses, to which those who know buckwheat honey can attest. Its dark color and distinctive flavor cannot be mistaken. If one type of flower predominates in an area, the honey will have its flavor. You have probably seen orange blossoms, tupelo, or sourwood honey for sale. Okay, and that is the section on beekeeping. So I will go ahead and get off from here, and I will get this video uploaded, and I will probably go ahead and do the one on foraging. There's a lot of recipes in that one, so. Anyway, but I'll go ahead and get this up there, and I will see you guys in a few minutes. Bye, guys.